Hi guys, Mayflom here, and today I'm super inspired by my lesson at my free scrapbook.com class. Lesson number 2, I did some stamping onto pattern paper and onto cardstock, a very simple card, but I'm inspired to try this, and I am going to use the Fairy Friends set because I love all the Lawn Fawn sets, but I just super love this set. So I am going to use this, and I'm not going to worry about the fact that my fairy flowers here, that they might look funny on pattern paper, like the stems aren't green or this or that. We're not going to worry about it, guys. This isn't reality. This is fun coloring and stamping. So I've got some archival ink here, and I'm just going to ink it up. And then I am going to stamp. And I do believe that I have the coordinating die set for these. Although, I was looking through my stuff and I don't see where I put them. I put them somewhere very safe because I don't have a lot of coordinating dies. So I put them somewhere very safe. And now I can't quite remember where that safe spot was. So I can cut these out by hand if I do not locate those. It's no big deal. And the other thing is, like that one, I didn't get quite as clean. I have a hard time stamping with this thing on my arm. I didn't get quite a clean image on that. I can stamp again, not a problem. So once I have these flowers stamped, I'm just going to go ahead and get them cut out. One of the things I really love about this card is that it doesn't have to be a whole lot of fuss. So I did find them. I knew I had them. I've got the die cuts that go along with this set. I figured with flowers, the flowers, a lot of times, you'll want to cut them out. So I've got everybody all cut out. Now we're into assembly. But we do have a few quick things we're going to take care of before we assemble. So I also did in watercolor paper a fairy, and I figure we will give her some little touches here. I'm going to give her a blue dress, and I'm going to use Zig Clean color pens. You can use whatever you like, guys. Use whatever you've got. That's always my outlook on this stuff. Use whatever you've got. Those just happen to be the closest, most convenient watercolor type mediums. The Distress would work. The Prima ones would work. So many things that would work, guys. And I am going to touch just a little bit, just for fun. I'm going to use these just very, very lightly on my flowers. Now, this is not something I did in the original class. It's something a little different here, and I'll tell you why. And then I'll add, as that's wet, I'll just add a little more color, just blend it up just a little bit more here. So I didn't do this in the original, it really wasn't needed. In this one though, I feel like as I'm looking at this, I love the pattern paper, but because I picked a white base pattern paper, I think it'll work well. Just not a lot, just touch, and not worrying about perfection, just kind of touch along some of the leaves and flowers to add another layer of color, just add a little more fun here. Now with that, I would not advise, I would not want to add any kind of like heavy. That's the other reason why I picked these. If you have a marker, and it doesn't have to be a watercolor marker, but if you have some kind of marker that you can lightly, let's see, do I have a lighter blue? I think I have a lighter blue. No, if I have a lighter blue, it's gone missing. So I'll just go really super light. I wouldn't want to add a lot of water or anything heavy on these, only because what we don't want to do, I'm going to see if whatever residual wetness on the tip of this water brush will help us at all blend. If it won't, I'll just have to come up with a little more color. So I wouldn't want to use a heavy amount because pattern paper, we don't really want to do a ton with it. But what I do like, and this is not going to work, so I'll have to come back in here. That's fine. What I do like is this is going to give me some pattern, and it's going to have a little bit of a color overlay. So it's going to really add to those flowers while still letting that pattern come through. I just love that for pattern paper. Okay, I'm going to give her yellow hair because, well, because I am. Because I've already have the yellow out for flowers. And I have a hard time sometimes with these pens and like the browns. Sometimes it doesn't come out quite as I want. And you know what, guys? I'm leaving the rest of her plain because I'll put a little sparkle on her wings as we assemble. What I have here, this is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 folded. And I've got pattern paper. Again, this is all Lawn Fawn stuff. I love their stuff. So I've got this out, and I've got 3 little squares of cardstock, and actually they're rectangles, excuse me. They are 1.5 inches high, 1.5 inches across, 2 inches high. Don't let me get those measurements backwards because it definitely matters. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and place these. I've got some double-sided tape here I will use. I've got so much double-sided tape right now that I've been trying to use more of it and less of other stuff. And what I will do, I know these fit well, but what I will do before I take that off is I will just set these down right across the middle, or middle-ish will work. Okay, so it needs to come down a little bit. There we go. And I just want to make sure that they are fitting nicely there. And I can see that I can space them out just a little bit. Put the tape on, nice and easy. We don't need a bunch of adhesive on these. They're really not going to go anywhere. The only thing I would say is if for some reason you're doing this and you notice that one corner is sticking up or it's not adhering well, then you might want to add a little more adhesive. But I think that this is going to work well for me. Let's get this down and confirm. Yep, everybody looks good, especially since the way this card is coming together. I don't think it's going to be an issue at all. Then we're going to continue. Guys, we're already almost done. We're just assembling. I have got my flower here that I'm just, again, adding some tape to. Tape runner, whatever you've got. This is not a picky adhesive kind of a project. And I'll put that flower. I'm going to put my side flowers down first. This one is so narrow, I'm going to get, actually, no, that should work. I always like to try to use, when I've got too much of one supply, I always like to try to use it up a bit. And right now I've got way more tape than I do, excuse me, double-sided tape than I do tape runner. I'm going to put that one to the outside, and then my third flower. I'm just loving this variation on this card. And as I mentioned before, this is inspired by lesson number 2 from my class over at scrapbook.com, which is about cards for any occasion. And it is free, so you can go over there and register for class and check out all of those videos to get even more ideas. It's a get well card. This lesson is a get well card over there, and it's a different stamp set as well. So then I have to decide, I think I want my fairy coming between these two, and I think I'm going to put her on some foam adhesive. But before I do, I have a little strip of vellum, or rather, I guess I should say I did have a little strip of vellum here on my table. And I'm just going to stamp a sentiment onto there, okay? So this is okay, so cleared off my desk a little and uncovered my vellum. And I've got my sentiment. I'm going to use thank you very much because I just think that's adorable. And I love thank you cards. Thank you cards are always something I am always quick to make because they are my most used type of cards. So I'm always glad to do that. And I'm going to center this onto my vellum. Okay. And I am also going to just let it air dry for a moment here. I'm not going to put anything on it because the vellum, I used archival ink, which should be pretty good, but sometimes the vellum needs a minute to dry. So I think this is going to go right about there. And what I love about that is it's going to add another layer to this card. It's going to give it another little bit of dimension, but not take it over. It's not going to take it over. It's not going to cause, you know, any drama, any issues here on our card. And then I'm going to take our fairy, our little fairy friend. Now you could get really intricate with your stamping and everything if you'd like. My whole inspiration behind this particular lesson and card was really about that you could do it simply, that you could use one of these cute little stamp sets with all these little stamps that you see and keep it really simple. You know, I've got these 2 Lawn Fawn sets out, and the reason I do is because I just wanted to show you the way they design their sets. Almost any one of your Lawn Fawn sets would work for a card like this. So this is a design that for me, you know, maybe I don't want to get into super detail coloring, or maybe I'm concerned about like building a scene, or I want it to be a little more simple. This is a great design for any of those circumstances because you don't have to worry about much. You're gonna be just fine. And I absolutely love that about Lawn Fawn and about how that works well here. So I've got my vellum there. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just putting a little bit of tape down at these two ends because I'm going to take some sequins and things and just cover up if I feel like it shows here. And I'm just kind of playing around with where I want that. Put it right there. And I'm just pulling it tight so that I make sure that it's not going to be problematic. I don't need a lot of glue for my vellum. Vellum is so light and so delicate. That should totally work. Oh, I'm just loving this, you guys. So couple little things that we'll add on here. I'm going to take my Guava Lawn Fawn ink and I'm going to go ahead, get the sentiment off of here. There's these little sparkles and fun things on this stamp set. This stamp set, there are so many things that we could do with this. Oh my goodness. And I'm going to definitely have at least one more video with this stamp set, only I'm going to make like a little scene with the little fairy house. I'm not going to make a card next time, so stay tuned for that. I can't promise it'll be like this week or anything, but definitely stay tuned for that. So I'm going to add a few little sparkles here and there. Oh, I love that. And we'll add a few right there. And then maybe a few right here. That's good. So add a few little sparkles. That's always a fun thing to do. And then, like I said, with the sequins, I've got some sequins here. This is one of my 28 Lilac Lane kits. So all the sequins and buttons and beads you could ever want, of course. I'm going to add a few little sequins and also maybe a bead or two. You're just going to want some good liquid adhesive there. Okay. So I've got a plug, as I often do, but luckily I use a liquid adhesive that this particular one is PPA, and it is really easy to unplug because you can close it and remove the plug with your finger like so, or, and this is just a little bonus for you guys, the whole thing pops off, so that if you have like a big massive plug, the whole thing pops off, you unplug it, and then the thing snaps right back on, so you don't waste any time whatsoever. And I'm not sure if scrapbook.com sells this particular adhesive yet, but I know they have Glossy Accents, which is another great alternative. And we don't need much. We want little tiny bits because we don't want that vellum. And I really don't actually even have to use that because I actually think that it would work. Just, I feel like the sequins are going to end up extra. We don't actually have to have them. And I'm just putting teeny tiny amounts. I've got a couple little beads here. I'll drop onto there. I'm just using tiny amounts because I don't want a lot of dry time and I don't want big lumps of adhesive on here. I want as little as possible. So just tiny amounts of adhesive. Add my buttons as I see fit. And we are done. I hope you have enjoyed this card tutorial. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave me a comment there on YouTube. I'll see you next time.